शिक्षण और आदत की ज़रूरत होती है. If our sanskaras are in form of our habit, and the society gets automatic obedience from the citizens, then majority of concerns of the state and society is addressed. And if such education system where values are given importance, India-centric knowledge is again focused, when vernacular language and literature is again in focus, then we will be contributing to the nation building and will contribute to the nationalism. With these words, again I'll thank organizers for having me here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the excellent speech, sir. And thanks a lot for actually mentioning Thomas Munro. And I'm pretty sure you would be aware of the data that was published by Dharampal, which shows, the various other collectors after Munro followed the same route and confirmed that there were almost 60 to 80% of the students were from the so-called lower castes and Dalits now. So this data has been still kind of almost hidden from us. And parts of Tamil Nadu, it was about 10 times more. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. So can I then request Yashaswini ji to actually talk about integral humanism and gender justice, please? Thank you.
Hari Om. Before I start, I just want to set the mood for my speech today. I saw something on Twitter yesterday that made me think deeply about the state of women in India. The Tamil Nadu MLAs took a bus and went to a resort in ECR for what we can call as consultations or negotiations. And there were reports that said that there was alcohol, some amount of partying, and all of that. Imagine if there was just 2 women MLAs in a crowd of over 100 MLAs doing that. How safe or how vulnerable would that women representative feel in such an environment? And I'm talking about a party which was led by Jayalalitha and which is now led by Shashikala. So let's think about women from that angle before I start with integral humanism and gender justice. I thank the organizers, India Foundation, Tamil Nadu Young Thinkers Meet, and also Tejas Foundation for calling me here to talk about this. I still feel that I'm underqualified to talk on this yet, but I will take the liberties of having experienced rural India and around 600 panchayat meetings up close to talk about women in India today and where they stand socially, economically, and politically. Deendayal ji, in his Integral Humanism lectures, talks about nationalism as a concept only when the majority of the population are driven by a popular aspiration. Until then, we cannot identify ourselves as a nation. We will continue to identify ourselves only as smaller groups. And when social Darwinism comes into effect, or capitalism comes into effect, only the most powerful group tends to succeed or win. Then what happens to the weaklings? What happens to the underprivileged? What happens to the women? What happens to the transgenders? What happens to the lower castes? These are questions that we need to answer now. Because the lectures were given in 1965 is still relevant today, which means in 70 to 72 years, nothing has changed in this country. Nothing. He talks, Pandit ji talks about how weaklings cannot realize their self. And over here, the self meaning a combination of all the 4 that others have mentioned already: the body, mind, intellect, and the soul. So what will help a weakling realize their self is only in empowerment. So Deendayal ji looked at democracy from just not a political angle, but he also talks of a social democracy, of an economic democracy. Let us look at where women stand in India from all these three aspects to understand what is the way forward for women and other genders. Considering that integral humanism means progress of all for the progress of the nation, right? In India, as of now, the sex ratio is 940. And crimes against women is 26 crimes against women are recorded every single hour, which means by the time you leave this hall, from the moment that the program started, at least 78 women would have been harassed, raped, molested, or hurt in some manner in this country. But then we also have programs like Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, which have come and which are encouraging, girls to take up education, to go forward, and it sort of curtails female feticide and a lot of other problems that ail women's development in the society, right? But there are more things that we need to think of than just feeding and educating a girl. Is she safe to move around and do whatever she wants? Is she capable and also empowered to pursue the career that she wants? Do we have public spaces like buses or parks or beaches where she can move about with the same freedom that any man in this country moves about with? These are the social aspects of integral humanism for a woman and why that matters in India today. Speaking from an economic perspective, what about equal pay for equal work? The population of women who are a part of the workforce between 15 to 24 years in rural India is 35%. If you calculate the population of women who are unpaid and working only in domestic areas, that same percentage increases to 85%, which means almost all of women between 15 to 24 years in rural India, because the remaining 15% are obviously pursuing education in the same age group, are all left out of our economic survey. Then what is the integral humanism that we're talking about? When we leave a huge chunk of our population out of the mainstream, how will they also have the same popular aspiration that every other individual in the society is having? In corporates, the corporate culture that everybody chases, men with the same qualifications are still paid 1/3 more than women. There is no provision for maternity benefits in most companies. There is no provision even for women restrooms in most institutions and organizations. Something very basic. How will a woman choose to go and work in such an organization? Basic questions that we need to ask when we talk about integral humanism. In the political sphere, there is a lot that we can do and talk about. The Women's Reservation Bill, which calls for 33% reservation in the legislatures of the country, is pending in our parliament for 19 years, which means most of the audience today and some of the organizers, we were all in school, probably in 2nd standard or 3rd standard. And now I'm coming and talking about it. It has not moved an inch. I've grown, I've acquired degrees, I'm capable of working now. Why I'm eligible to even contest an election. But that bill has not moved in the parliament. 19 years. And this bill has cross-party support. The BJP has presented it, the Congress-led UPA has presented it, and yet it has not crossed the floor of the House. Why? When states can take the lead and do that in panchayats, 33% reservation in panchayats was bought by Biju Patnaik even before the 1994 Panchayat Raj Act. And today states like Kerala, Rajasthan, Odisha, Chhattisgarh, all of them have 50% reservation for women in panchayat bodies. And I'll tell you why that matters. If in a Panchayat Gram Sabha meeting, it was just to be filled with men, the decisions that they typically take are about the facilities like lighting or roads. But when women Panchayat members also sit there, they talk about maternal health. They talk about girls' education. The entire Panchayat's focus shifts on the needs of the village. And these are the reasons why we need women to be participating in the public sphere. Not because, they shouldn't be sitting at home, but because the perspective towards governance, towards administration, towards the policies and the issues that are prevalent in the country completely changes. Are roads going to ensure that girl children get their education? Who knows? So for this, Deendayal ji in his Integral Humanism lecture, he focuses on a lot of values. He talks about love and sacrifice, and he gives it a lot of emphasis. So if we look at our fellow citizens, women, transgender, or man, with love, and we're ready to sacrifice a little bit of the power and privilege that we already have with us, we can ensure that they also share the same aspirations that we do. This was the integral humanism that Deendayal ji spoke about. That everybody comes together and has a single motive of taking the nation forward. But we need to understand and also recognize how far the women's movement in this country has gone. Most of us in school would have only heard of Sarojini Naidu as the female freedom fighter. Or at max, we would have heard about Rani of Jhansi. Nobody speaks about Rukmini Lakshmipati, who was the first female prisoner for breaking the salt law. She also went on to become the first legislator in the Madras presidency in 1930. In 1946 and 47, she also became the first and only woman minister in the Madras presidency cabinet. Today, there are totally only 9% women legislators in Tamil Nadu. How do I know? Because when I follow the Tamil Nadu Legislative Assembly, it's a sea of white in veshti and shirt, and suddenly there is one small row of color, which is saris. And this is happening in a party which is led by a powerful female leader like Jayalalitha. Or let's talk about West Bengal, Mamta Di, another female, powerful female leader. 40 out of 293 MLAs in West Bengal are women. What is this that is preventing a multiplier or a trickle-down effect of women in public sphere? It's simply because the societal and economic factors also prevent them from coming out, stepping out, and becoming leaders. Not everybody has the same conducive environment that other women leaders of our generation have had. In the 2014 elections, for the 543 seats that were contested, there were only 668 women contestants, and the male contestants were 7,583. So women are not even thinking that I can go and stand for a seat, a political job. Where is the gender justice in this society then? This is 70 years later than when Deendayal ji gave his speech on integral humanism. So when we get back to the core concept that a Jana Rajya is possible only if it is rooted in dharma, dharma over meaning that individual law, that everybody can flourish and prosper when all their four aspects are nourished, body, mind, intellect, and soul, it also means that a woman's body, mind, intellect, and soul should be nourished. Right? So I just had a few thoughts in my mind. What can be done in these three sectors, socially, economically, and politically, for women to become a part of this Janaraja rooted in Dharma. So socially, we can create women-friendly and gender-friendly institutions, public spaces, and we can focus on medical or educational benefits for girl children, which already the government is taking up. But also look at participative presence of women. Presence alone does not mean participation. This is something that we're clearly seeing in our government bodies. We need women to also become decision makers, just not reserve the 33% seat for them, but they should be given a voice. Economically speaking, include these 85% unpaid domestic workers of the country. It can even be your mother, sister, wife at home who doesn't go for a job, but is excluded from having a bank account, is excluded from insurance policies, is excluded from pensions. Bring in all these people into your economic perspective and planning. This is the chithi that Deendayal ji spoke about. Policies and principles that will include everybody and take everybody along. Equal pay for equal work, as I had already mentioned before. And last but not the least, I will again plug for it, Women's Reservation Bill can work wonders for this country. Amongst the 27 finance ministers that this country has had, only one was a woman, and that was Indira Gandhi. It's time that we thought about a home minister, a defense minister, and a prime minister who is a woman and who will take the country forward. This is the integral humanism that I believe in, and this is the gender justice that we should all work for. Thank you.
Thank you, Ji, for making an excellent case for why the present system isn't working and why we need Dharma and integral humanism. Thank you. Can I now invite M.R.Venkatesh Ji now to talk about integral humanism and economics? Thank you.
எல்லோருக்கும் வணக்கம். ரமேஷ் சேத்ராமன் அவர்கள் எனக்கு ஃபோன் பண்ணி இந்த நிகழ்ச்சியில் கலந்துக்கணும், யங் திங்கர்ஸ் மீட் இது அப்படின்னாரு. அவர்கிட்ட சொன்னேன், நான் யங்கும் இல்லை திங்கரும் இல்லையப்பா, என்ன விஷயம் அப்படின்னு. இல்லை there are scholars who are coming. Scholars are there, but I am a chartered accountant, I am not a scholar. So அதுலேயும் இல்லை. சரி, ஏதாவது ஒன்றுத்துலையாவது வாங்க சார்